I don't know if anyone else can hear it or if it's on the recording, but I'd prefer if my intro didn't have a toilet flushing in the background. That's just me, though.
I mean, it could be.
I guess it depends on the kind of podcast you're doing, right?
Adds to the ambiance.
All right. Hello, friends, and welcome to Inks and Issues, a book club podcast for comics. I'm your host, Jonah Gregory.
And every day is a treasure hunt. I'm Kieran Bennett.
And today we're joined by returning guest, Steph.
Hey, I'm Steph, and I used to work at Disney World. Disney World? What?
They're
we can't
like
say that name.
Are they the same thing?
They are two legally distinct properties.
Very clearly. Destiny World.
Like Sherry Bobbins or Ronald Ruck.
Sherry Bobbins.
Yeah. You've seen that Simpsons episode? But today we're talking about Kaiju-girl Caramalise, which is a book about a young lady who, when she gets emotional, she turns into a gigantic kaiju named Harugan. We reviewed book 1 last time, and today we're going to get into book 2 because things start ramping up and we thought it'd be fun. So before we get into it, there was a little kind of last time on. Does anyone else have that pulled up, or should I just go ahead and read it?
No, you go. Go wild.
Kuroe Akaishi is a high school girl with a problem. When she gets excited, parts of her body transform. I mean, we've all been there. When Arata Minami, the class hottie, makes her heartbeat, she turns into a giant kaiju. Upon seeing Kuroe suddenly getting chummy with Arata, a few girls from their class harass her by locking her in the gym storage room. Despite knowing that falling in love would only cause her to become a kaiju, she reveals her feelings to Arata when he appears to save her. Soon after, she turns into a huge kaiju a second time and ends up destroying the school gym. And that's where we left off last week. So this one starts with her friend that she met in the first volume, Manatsu Tomasato, and she is a beautiful girl who shows up to the school, and she's obsessed with kaiju. Like, she is obsessed with Harugan. She's clearly, like, got the hots for this kaiju, and she thinks that Kuroe... How are we pronouncing her name?
Well, last time we were going by, I think, her last name, which is Akaishi.
Oh, yeah, Akaishi. Okay, so
we
Akaishi.
can keep it consistent if we want.
Yeah, I get confused with names, like, at the best of times. So
yeah.
That's why I have a cheat sheet in front of me right now.
Well, you never know if they're, like, flipping them in the translation.
Right,
or if
exactly.
They're not, so it gets confusing.
So for some reason, her friend thinks that she is the priestess of Harugan and not the actual monster. Because she's just always there whenever, like, right before and after the kaiju appears. So, like, clearly she's, like, the Mothra priestess ladies of this kaiju. So she's like, hey, I'm got this date, so I'm going to help you pick out an outfit. So, of course, the first one she picks out is just a King Ghidorah reference where it's the three-headed monster, except her head is the middle head. And it's a really, really funny panel, I thought. Like, the art in this book we mentioned last time on the monsters versus on the cutesy, like, romantic stuff is such a good contrast. But in this panel, it's full color and they managed to combine the two, which I thought was chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's adorable. I love the idea that Manatsu would be going on a date in an outfit like this.
Yes. Well, she's like, well, this is clearly my best outfit, so... I mean, her ideal date is with a kaiju.
True.
So
yeah.
I guess it tracks.
Context,
I mean,
yeah.
So I guess he's not her boyfriend yet, but Minami, the boy that's like Mr. Popular guy who's like all handsome and has a million Insta followers, which is their fake version of Instagram. He likes her, and she's like, why would he like me? I'm this weird goth girl. But he's like, hey, you know what we should do? We should go to Tokyo Destinyland, which is, as we said, legally distinct. But it is the most classic date spot. and also
The land of dreams.
Yes, the land of dreams. Again, totally its own thing. And basically in the last one, there was them hanging out. Is it really a date or not? Because he kind of like does the thing where he's too embarrassed to just ask her out. So he's like, oh, we should go hang out with all my friends. Oh, they all canceled. I'm like, well, that wasn't the slickest move in the world. So you should really just not do that and be upfront with people is what we're getting at.
I don't know. I think playing with people's emotions is like good and healthy. And,
totally.
The right thing to do.
I mean, I tend to think honesty is usually pretty good, but
I don't know. I feel it's pretty overrated.
Yeah, what do I know?
So she's, she wants to go do this, of course. So she gets the outfit, and then her mom is immediately suspicious, like, where are you going? Because she knows all the crazy stuff. I do like that little wrinkle in this book, I have to say, where a lot of teen that turns into crazy, like, superhero or kaiju or whatever it is in the story, and they have to hide it from their family. But in this, it's like, no, her mom is 100% aware,
super aware
of what is going on.
Almost too relaxed about it sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, you're going to hang out with a friend. Are you sure you're going to be okay? And so she's like, okay, we need to make sure she's okay. So she goes as well secretly to keep an eye on her. But we don't know that quite yet. That's coming. Yeah, spoiler for like 3 pages from now. But but we find out that she has decided to like plan out. She has like a pamphlet for, was it Destinyland? Is that what they were calling it? Yeah. And she's gone through and like, okay, here's all the rides where we don't have to be sitting too close. And here's where I can go hide if I start to transform. And here's the snack booths with the kind of snacks that calm me down. And I'm like, man, that is a level of planning that I didn't plan even like what rides I wanted to see when I went to Disneyland. I was just like, we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she has like an entire booklet of rides, and also rides that she can go on with her Minami and also the mouse mascot as well.
Yeah, which I love that the mouse actually goes on rides with them.
Yes.
But I did find this, like, her little booklet weirdly relatable as someone dealing with anxiety during a pandemic. Like, here's how I'm going to plan out all my escape routes. And, like, here's all the ways I can stay distanced from people.
Right.
Like, I kind of feel that. Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm not going to judge you for making this little pamphlet.
Exactly. So yeah, so she's like, it'll be fine. I just got to keep my emotions under control and it'll be totally fine. So she's got everything under control. But then of course, as soon as Minami appears, she hears all the girls like, oh, who's that guy? Is he a celebrity? He's so pretty. And then she immediately loses it and hides behind fake Mickey.
Mitchie Mouse.
Mitchie, that's her. I knew it was something similar. I like all the fake names so much in this. They're very good. Gosh. I don't know why the off-brand names for things tickles me so much, but it really does.
It's so good.
I do also enjoy that she's like, you seem kind of different. And he's like, oh, do I? I look the same as always. And then immediately he's like, actually, I'm just kidding. I spent hours getting ready. I put in so much effort just so I would look really nice. And I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah. And honestly, fair. Like same. If you've done all the effort and someone notices, it's okay to let them know. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Because she did the same too. Because he's like, she picked out an outfit with her friend and did all that stuff that she normally doesn't do. She usually dresses the same in like baggy clothes because she's worried about exposing her kaiju side. They're like, okay, so let's go on the rides and whatnot. But of course, as she's talking to him, she's imagining herself just becoming Harugan, like, and destroying the entire, like, Destiny land, and is thinking, like, I've never even seen a kaiju destroy the land of dreams, even a movie. So I'm like, ooh, are we going to get to see the destruction of Destiny land? We do not. So, but she uses her book to, like, kind of guide them through the day, pulls Michi along with her, but is like, this is going to be tougher than I thought. So that's the end of that first chapter, is all the setup to like her nervousness and getting ready to go to Disneyland and meeting him there. It's like I don't know. It's not a lot happens in the chapter really, but I don't know. It clipped along really well for me. Like, what did you guys think of this one?
Even though she's like planning on like turning into a kaiju and kind of like that's her kind of main focus, her anxiety around going on a date, still very relatable.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very true.
She's just a highly relatable character for me, to be honest.
Like, the kaiju almost just seems like you could fill it in with anything that you're worried you would embarrass yourself with, and then it just 100% would work for anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been like, oh no, am I going to sweat too much? Or, you know, like any awkward thing.
It's like we all have a kaiju
Ooh.
inside us.
Ooh.
Dang. That sounds painful.
That sounds pretty sweet. Do we know how old they are? Do they say that anywhere?
I don't know if they've specified. We just kind of get like high school, I think, is the generic thing they've thrown out. I would guess about like 16, 17 based on...
Yeah, I would assume that too.
Because he's like doing modeling and stuff already, and any younger than that would get exponentially creepier to me, so I'm just gonna say 17 and call it a high school student.
Yeah, it just seems like Destinyland is kind of a big deal for her first date. Like, especially for that age. Like, it can't be cheap to go there, right? Assuming
he says that he won some tickets to go. And he's like that, and so I just thought maybe
I just happen to have these tickets.
We could just check it out, like, if you want to, or like whatever. I mean, like, you don't have to, but if you want to, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty sweet date spot, but it also seems like pretty high pressure for like young kids going on a first date. Like, let's spend all day together.
Yeah, let's spend all day together at a place that's really expensive and very, very, very intense.
Yes.
Sounds good for a first date.
Well, why not?
I mean, I guess the people that live near amusement parks and have season passes, it's less of a big deal.
Yeah,
and
like
this kind of implies they can just hop on a bus and go. It's not like when I went to Disneyland and drove with our friends for 22 hours straight. It's
yeah. When I worked in Disney World and like lived 5 minutes away from the park, we would go there for dates because it's free. Because we have free passes, but
that's fair.
But yeah, for a 16-year-old who doesn't already work for Disney.
Yeah, seems like a lot.
But I'm guessing that you would rather work at Destinyland?
I mean, it does say Destinyland is the place of dreams, so who knows? Could be interesting. I do love how some of the rides are exactly like
they are just
Disney.
Disneyland rides.
Like, there's Splash Mountain in here and all that. Like, total straight ripoff.
Kieran, do you want to get us into chapter 6?
Yeah, I'll do. So the date continues, and we learn that Michi-kun, the legally distinct mouse entity, is actually her mother. Damn, who saw that one coming? No one. Okay, well, I didn't.
Well, I just mean I spoiled that in the first part of this.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So they're all hanging out and having a good time. But Akaishi's being she's being a little bit odd. She's only going on the rides to keep her physically distant from Minami-kun, and she always wants to go on rides with the two of them plus Michi, so that she doesn't get too close to her, which is like, it's very cute. But eventually he does kind of realize what's going on, because he's like, "Hey, let's go on Blash Blountain," and
exactly.
She's like, "Oh no, fuck, that means I have to sit next to him. Could Michi ride with us?" And he's like, "Oh, nah, maybe we'll just look at some merchandise instead."
Oh.
And he puts like these little like mouse ears on her, and she's like, "Wow, you're like so cute." And it, it's very, very adorable. The two of them together are just very, very adorable.
Mm-hmm.
But then she says they're for cute girls only.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart because it's like, you are cute, and he thinks you're cute too.
He does.
And she always misinterprets his disappointment in her not wanting to go along with it. It's like, oh, he hates me. It's like, no, he's just bummed because you don't want to do any of the stuff he wants to, like, have fun and go do like cool rides and buy you mouse ears, or is it a mouse still? I don't know. Mitchie's some sort of creature,
mouse-ish.
He's like, his ears are too tall to be a mouse, but he also has the face of a mouse,
right?
Yeah.
They combined Oswald and Mickey and smashed them together.
But honestly, they just did it. They did not stop to think whether they should.
No, they did not.
And so Minami's kind of bummed, and he's like, you can choose what we do next. It's fine. And she's like, I've been turning down everything that he wants to do. And, if I keep my heart closed, I'll never get close to him. So she's like, you know what? Let's go on Blash Blounton. And so there's a really, really good panel where the person who's running the ride, the Steph, if you will, just to pick a name from random, is like,
I did work a few times on Splash Mountain.
Not on Blash.
So not on Blash Blountton.
No. Distinctly different.
And the Steph's like, how many are in your group? And they're holding up 2 fingers, and Mitchie's behind them, just like desperately holding up 3, like, sweating buckets. And she's like, oh, you can ride on the next one, Mitchie. And he's like holding him back.
So, can I just pause you right there? So first of all, Steph, would you know, at least, would you have some idea of like where different characters are supposed to be? And would it be weird if this Mitchie was just kind of following this couple through the entire park and going on rides with them? Is that suspicious?
It is 100% suspicious, and the characters are not allowed to ride Splash Mountain.
I would imagine that would destroy the costume.
Yes, there are certain like select rides that they're allowed to ride, but not Splash Mountain.
I was going to say, I have definitely seen them ride, like, I think the teacups, I want to say, like something like low key ish, with like a bunch of kids or something. I think it was because they were having a birthday party, so they're like, you should join us, and they must have like, the okay for that sort of thing, I would imagine.
Like for Make-A-Wish and stuff, they'll do things like that. But
that's cool.
But you wouldn't see like Mickey wandering the park all by his lonesome, following some random guests around. Like, that's just not how it goes.
I was going to say, that seems incredibly creepy. Like, you'd be like going up to another cast member. Is that cast members that they call them? Yeah. Being like, this Mickey won't stop following me.
Mickey's starting to scare me.
I'm just trying to get a churro, and this mouse won't leave me alone.
I just want one of those turkey legs that's the size of my head. Can you get this Mickey off my back?
So they go on the ride, sans Mitchie, and she is like, I feel like if you removed if you removed the kaiju aspect of it, like, this is me on like a first date, where I'm just like sitting next to the person, dying because they're close to me and I can feel their presence. And then she's like, I can feel his heat directly on my skin, and she's got like spikes kind of growing. And then she's like, and on top of all of that, he smells kind of nice. And I'm just like, it's all over. It's over. And
she's so precious.
But just before you can think it can't get any worse, the ride finally finishes, and she's like, fuck, I gotta get out of here. And she's straining against the safety belt, and he's like, oh, no. You have to untangle it. And he like puts his arm around her waist and very gently unhooks the safety belt. And she's just like, fuck, and can't handle it. It's so adorable. She kind of like pushes away from him because, he's obviously way too close. And he takes it like very personally. And it's very, very, very sad. And And she's like, I noticed that you've been avoiding me all day, but I kept sticking around, and, you're really nice, and that's why you couldn't turn me down. I won't bother you anymore, so don't worry. And it's...
my heart.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for her.
Oh.
And so then we get this really cool double page of her running after him, being like, wait up. And she has a giant tail, a huge clawed hand, and horns. And I was like, personally, I thought this was going to be the bit where I was like, oh, now he's going to know. It's going to be so obvious that she's, and it's all going to come out, and oh my God. And he then sort of sees the claws and the horns, and she's like, what, and he looks really shocked. And so she sprints away from him, being like, it wasn't supposed to be like this. So, and that takes us to the end of the chapter. What'd you guys reckon?
Ugh. I just feel so bad for her, because it's this constant battle of, I need to get my courage up. I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit next to him. I can do this. And then, oh my God, I'm too scared. I'm going to leave. And it's just so sad. I wish she could just be like, here's who I really am.
Yeah.
But of course she's terrified that he'd be like, holy shit, a kaiju. Oh my God.
Right.
Let me run away.
Her mom and a character we will be meeting soon have both basically her whole life been like, hey, you probably don't want people knowing that. So
yeah,
let's keep this under wraps.
Yeah. Which, understandable. You can't really just tell anyone hey, by the way, I'm a kaiju.
Right.
But I just feel so bad for her.
This chapter did have at the very beginning another great real character where people were cosplaying as characters from Frosted. And they were also carrying a giant meat on a stick, which was also, I'm assuming, a turkey leg reference, but it's drawn like the giant hunks of meat in every anime ever. So it's pretty amazing. And this chapter, I actually that cracked me up. All the like I said, the slightly off-brand versions of things is definitely one of those things that I always find amusing. Oh, yeah. So that was a nice counterbalance to the kind of heart-rending emotional drama that these teens were going through with trying to figure out, you're trying to navigate that. Does this person like me? I'm a teen. I've never really dated before, and emotions are difficult. And just the whole kaiju thing is just, it's such a good way to illustrate those anxieties coming out that it just all works really well for me. Kieran, any thoughts on this one before we move on to chapter 7?
No.
Okay, perfect. Steph,
anticlimactic.
Well, I was like, there's nothing I'm going to say that I haven't already said. So
okay,
fair.
That's totally fair. Steph, did you want to take a chapter, or would you rather just add as we go? I always leave that up to guests. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Next chapter. So Minami finds her guidebook, which is a little scary for her. And she's running off, and she's just so heartbroken. And she says, if I'm not allowed to live like a normal girl, then I'll live like a kaiju. And she just sort of gets the dead eyes and just starts stomping around. Still only half transformed, mostly girl, but with claws and a tail, stomping around. It's real sad.
She looks low-key kind of terrifying, I have to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little dead inside kind of. Yeah, it's very sad.
She also gets this thing which I hope comes back in future issues. One of the spikes that kind of comes out on her back has a heart in it.
Yeah,
which I'm
yeah. It's also if you notice, depending on, it's contextual whether it's a creepy dark heart that looks kind of like it's from Kingdom Hearts, or a big glowing heart if she's happy.
Did someone say Kingdom Hearts?
What? I'm trying to put things in terms I know Kieran understands.
Yeah. That I'll understand. Yeah.
I figure if I can get Kieran on board, then everyone else knows those references, right? Everyone knows all of the ins and outs of Kingdom Hearts.
Everyone does.
Yes, I totally do.
Yeah.
All of them. So anyway, Michi / her mom is chasing after Akaishi, and Akaishi is just kind of ignoring her, stomping away. And Minami finally finds her, and he thinks she's in a cosplay, which is just adorable. Because earlier there was, instead of Toy Stories, it was Boy Stories.
Wow, that's a very different movie.
Very different.
I remember watching that movie, but it wasn't at the movies.
They went for the rhyme on that one, clearly. And there's this character named Johnny who's like this, I don't know, like basically a little mini kaiju. And so he thinks she has this adorable Johnny cosplay, and he has the guidebook, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's a cosplay." And the exits was places where I was gonna go change into this cosplay, and I just got nervous. And it's just adorable. And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool."
Well, he's like, Johnny's my favorite. I mean, I know he's a bad guy, but look how cute he is. And I mean, I would have that plush. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a real cute plush.
Yeah, honestly, I would buy it.
Yeah.
It's basically what, like fake Godzilla with a bow tie, essentially.
Pretty much. It's just real adorable.
Yeah, and he has this like this sweet mohawk as well,
right.
Which I love.
Yeah, it's a good design.
Gotta love a mohawk. And so they have this sweet little moment, and she tells him that she really was looking forward to today. Finally agrees to do these rides where they can sit close together. And she's already half transformed, so she can do it because she doesn't have to be afraid of transforming.
Right.
And
it's so cute.
It's so stinking cute, and Michi is having a bit of a freak out. Seeing her daughter sitting close to this boy. And then it ends with her mom leaving with the Michi costume, which you have to wonder, like, did she have that costume at her house, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay. Obviously.
Yeah.
For whenever.
She owns the Michi costume, but not for the reason you think.
Oh. Is it? Is it
Make
the reason I'm thinking? And the chapter ends with this figure. You only see him from the back that says, "Long time no see." ... Dun,
dun, dun.
That was
Got
good.
it.
Yeah.
All right. So I have to say, Chapter 7 had some very, very cool art in it because
Oh my gosh.
there is a point where she's kind of having her freak out and hiding in the bathroom, and the entire way the comic is drawn, like, it's still this art. However, the artist, he had changed things to make it look like a horror manga. It was actually very reminiscent of Tokyo Ghoul, is what it reminded me of, with like
that's what I was
really dark shading.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And then they actually, I realized me not noticing the heart thing the first time was just me not paying close enough attention, because they literally zoom in on it at different panels being like, get it? The heart?
See, I'd noticed the heart, but I hadn't noticed that the style of the heart changes.
I didn't notice it the first read through. I reread it right before we recorded, and that's the only reason I noticed it. I'm like, oh, wow, that was a really good touch, that it changes a bit depending on her mood.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I really liked this chapter a lot, because you finally there's all that build up from the last few, and then this is like, you finally get a little relief from that. Like, no, it's not perfect, but she's at least able to like let loose a little bit and enjoy herself.
Yeah. Right, like, it's not like she's telling him the truth, but she's allowed to relax, and she finally gets to enjoy the rides that she wanted to enjoy all along.
Exactly.
Couldn't, so.
Yeah. And I found it really interesting, like, seeing her kind of, I guess, like, pushed to that, like pushed to that point where like she's trying to have a good time. She's trying to have a good time, and she's just getting like progressively more and more stressed until finally she's like, well, fine, I'll just be a kaiju then. I guess I don't deserve to be happy, which is like such a departure from her normal character, who is up until now either been like really low key or hopelessly in love. So this is like just another whole side to her.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll bring us to the next chapter, chapter 8. And this chapter has a name that I did not notice at first, and it is Sexiologist's SOS.
I just saw that.
And I literally just noticed that.
I did not notice that at all.
So here we're introduced to Hibino-kun, who is an old friend of the family, who is aware of the whole situation of her turning into kaiju, and apparently he is a biologist, and biologists in this world travel around the world in search of rare creatures. That is what biologists do.
I love that.
And he basically is just like, oh, I'm in town for a thing, and it's like, you're here to study the kaiju. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But,
there's only one thing happening in the city right now, so...
But he's kind of cagey about it, but then he's just like, well, obviously, that's why I'm here. And then he's trying to get the mom to team up with him again, and she's like, no, I don't do that anymore. I'm a stay-at-home mom now, and I have Jumbo King, and things are good. So,
oh my gosh. There's some great drawings of Jumbo King. Like
some quality Jumbo King content, honestly.
He's like getting his belly rubbed and just drooling puddles on the floor. It's so adorable.
And that shows you that this is a old family friend, because dogs do that like belly rub thing when they feel very comfortable and safe. So I thought that was a nice touch too. Like, we get Jumbo King content, and it's like a kind of subtle way to fill us in that this is a person that Jumbo King knows and loves.
That's because Jumbo King is the most important character in the story.
Well, it's really just a subtle like pilot for the Jumbo King anime that I'm sure is in the works right now.
I'm going to watch the hell out of that.
Jumbo King Adventures, Let's Go Summer.
Yes.
So Kaishi comes home and sees that their old buddy is here, and he gets very excited because that's like one of the only father figures that she's had as far as we know. She even mentions at one point that he's basically like her uncle. Like, that's how she views him.
Yeah.
And, they're really excited to see each other and stuff, but the mom is kind of like, this guy. And he brings her a whole bunch of metal CDs, because apparently his big influence was just getting her into metal as she grew up. And I'm like, okay, so the adorable kaiju girl that turns into a giant monster is also a metalhead, and that's kind of too perfect.
Yes, I love it.
Now, my question is, were the few bands that they mentioned also parody names of bands I'm just not aware of, like Spree Killers? That's their big favorite band. It's not one I'm familiar with. However, they do show a picture of a kind of what you would think of as a traditional Japanese like metal band, but then there's like two little girls in like, fancy dresses in the front of the group in this t-shirt that they're looking at one point. And I'm like, there are metal bands that are basically
I'm assuming that would be baby metal.
I was going to say, I don't know the name of them, but I have definitely know that they exist. So yeah, that all tracks with stuff that's popular in Japan, I would imagine. Like the slight variation of the name, I'm sure, is there too. So basically they're like, they decide they're going to go to this music festival, but because it's with basically her uncle, she doesn't have to worry about the freaking out because she's so comfortable with him. And meanwhile, they've been kind of texting. I guess they use Line, which is like a real thing that people not in the States use all the time. I don't know. It just never really caught on here, I guess.
Never even
Kieran,
heard of it.
Is it a thing in New Zealand? is my
I've
question.
literally never heard of this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of Line, but only in the context of a lot of people use it because of free texting, essentially, in places where I guess they still charge for how many text messages you use. I don't know if that's a thing. It used to be.
Yeah. Yep. Same here. You get charged.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Well.
Line. Oh, it's like a WhatsApp kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has like stickers that you can send, so you get to see the little dragon guy that he's obsessed with.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty cute. So he's like, "Oh, I want to take her out again so bad," and looks in his wallet and has like 3 cents in it. So he's like, "Getting a job would be a good thing."
Right?
App just so relatable.
Does make me wonder if he did buy those tickets to Destinyland instead of
that's kind of what I
them.
thought. So while they're browsing the merch tables at the concert, who should show up as a person working there? But Minami. And he's super embarrassed. He's like, "Oh, hey, I guess what a coincidence you're here too." And her uncle guy is basically like, "Hey, I'm her boyfriend. You need to talk to me." And he's basically just doing the overprotective, thing, which I get, but don't tell people that you're the boyfriend of a 17-year-old high school student. That's pretty nasty.
Yeah.
It's real rank.
Yeah. But he's all suspicious, of course, of this boy that wants to date, who basically you get the impression that he sees Akaishi as like a daughter. That's like So the nice thing was it gets rid of that like older dude creepy thing that happens in stories sometimes, and I don't want to just blame anime for this, because Kieran and I have definitely seen it in Western comics.
Yep.
And I was so happy that this immediately was like, oh no, that's not a thing at all. He is just messing with this guy.
Yeah, although Minami's not entirely sure.
Right, at first.
Because he does start to get jealous, and it just, it's so awkward.
It is for a couple pages there, but this one is just like kind of setting up the next part of the story, because that's where it gets back more into the kaiju thing. So this is just kind of like a little, not filler, I wouldn't say, but we're getting new characters. It's kind of like a bridging chapter. Mm-hmm. So it's not like super eventful, but it does have some like fun moments and some cute moments, like when they're texting each other, and like Kieran said, #relatable, when it's the wanting to take someone out and being like, oh crap, money is a thing, huh?
Oh.
Money is a thing.
Shoot.
It is the day before payday, and I'm feeling it.
Yeah, been there. All right. So that's the end of chapter 8. Did any other thoughts on that before we move on?
I would like to mention when they're texting each other.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is probably just like 2 hours of podcast where we're just being like, and this was relatable, and this was, but like, I really have to emphasize, like, it is all very relatable.
Yeah.
So like when they're texting and she's like, what did she say? Something like, thanks so much, good night. And then she sends it, and then immediately she's like, fuck, should I have said good night? Was that too much? Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Why would I say good night? Who would say that? Ah! And then he replies being like, good night. Like, that was so great. And she's like, whew, thank goodness. That was me when I first started dating, where I was like, can I say good morning? Is that allowed? Am I allowed to do that?
Is that weird?
Am I crossing
get
a line
arrested?
here?
Shoot. Yeah, it was adorable.
Yeah, it was very, very cute. And the fact that she has like horns and kind of like a tail while she's doing it as well, it's just like,
yep. Yeah, definitely get to see the anxiety coming out in physical form, even with texting, and I'm like, wow, now that's what I call relatable, volume 73.
Yeah.
All right, Kieran, do you want to take chapter 9, The Terrifying Kaiju Fest? Which
So,
I have to say, the chapter cover for this one has Jumbo King, and it's very good. So,
oh my God,
you take it away. I just had to throw that
in.
Jumbo King's
so
little bow tie is...
It's just so cute.
the spree killer is about to start, but Uncle San, whatever his name is, I've already forgotten. He's like, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. I'd grab us a spot. It'll be all good. But Minami shows up and he's like, oh, maybe, I'm on break. So I thought I'd watch for a bit with you. And she gets bumped into him and she's like, oh, sorry. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to be too close to you. And I can't like be too close. And she starts kind of like growing like little spikes. And she's like, I really can't do this. And he's basically like, look, I get it. It's cool. Like, you're totally relaxed around that other dude and it's totally fine. But you're not around me and, it's all good. And she's like, no. I keep avoiding you because, like things I can't explain. And she starts like absolutely freaking out. And I really like this bit, I have to say, because she's like, it's not because I don't, like, she's thinking this to herself. It's not because I don't like them. I even bought expensive shampoo. I worked up the courage to go into clothing stores that weren't my style. I even cried when the first cookies I baked ever tasted awful, and I've started to enjoy thinking about tomorrow. And it's all because I'm in love with Minami. And I'm like, stop it.
That line.
Stop it.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's like I think for me, like, it's this kind of stuff that makes like that for me, like, really cements that, like, this is it's an interesting story and it's an interesting concept, but it is also like just a really well written, like, young romance story. I think the kaiju like adds a lot to it. But I think if that wasn't there, it would probably still be quite an interesting story anyway, because all of the characters and stuff are just so well written.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that it's not only just a love story. It's also the story about her finding confidence and how to be herself and how to express herself and deal with her anxieties. And it's just a great story.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So she finally confesses this to herself, and what should happen? But she turns into a kaiju.
Right. I was going to say, so this actually kind of parallels that last scene at Destinyland where it was in her imagination. And this, you kind of get like, oh, is this her imagining that? No, this time she actually did.
She really did.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. I thought that was a really good, it's almost like it rhymes, like with the way the story is written. It's that George Lucas thing that people give him crap for, where stories rhyme. And I'm like, no, that's actually a really, really good way of putting that, George Lucas, person who invented the most famous franchise in the world. Give him some credit.
So she turns into Harugon, and Minami does the really sensible thing, climbs up on the stage and uses his binoculars to look at Harugon's eyes, which have like little hearts in them. And he's like, ooh, that's interesting.
I do like when it zooms out, though. He is like 2 feet away from a kaiju face. And using binoculars to see it. It's a pretty good visual.
Oh, yeah. I love that drawing for that page where it's just like, he's itty bitty on the stage and there's this massive kaiju head just looking down at him with these big old hard eyes.
The uncle shows up and he's like, we need to leave. This is like, this is dangerous. And he's like, no, it's cool. I'm going to act as bait. And I feel like the kaiju's trying to tell me something. And, I feel like I've got to get a lot closer to it. And there's something I need to tell Akaishi as well. So really planting some seeds there. But Akaishi loses sight of Minami and she's like, so she's kind of rampaging around because she can't find him, and she's like, I don't want to do this, but I can't stop. Like my heart and my emotions are becoming like a kaiju's. They're oversized, and she wishes that she told him how she felt then and there, and wonders like, will I ever go back to being human again? And continues to kind of rampage and do kaiju type things. Minami manages to catch up with Harugon, and he's like, "Yo, do you have some kind of business with me? Let's talk."
I absolutely love this scene, by the way. Because he's like, no, I'm special. This means something. It keeps looking at me. And he's not wrong, but he is so wrong at the same time. It's great.
Yeah.
And then she like roars at him and he's like, nope, it was all my head. I was wrong.
Yeah. And so who should show up right at the very end of the chapter but Manatsu-san, who throws herself out of a helicopter tied to a rope, saying, no, you can stomp me flat in his place.
And she's dressed like Mothra. And she's dressed like Mothra.
I think this is my favorite page in this whole manga, is her leaping from this helicopter saying, you can stomp me flat in his place.
I like how this lady has infinite resources, apparently, and uses it to try and get smashed by a kaiju.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like a little bonus like into the book one from the previous volume where Akaishi goes to her place and she's like, oh, you're like rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has like a butler and everything. I mean, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. But she just wants the kaiju to love her.
Exactly.
Which, honestly, relatable.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that was the end of chapter 9 then. Steph, any specific thoughts on this one before we move on?
Yeah, it was just kind of, I felt bad for Akaishi because Minami, like, obviously runs away from this giant kaiju, and she thinks he's just like everyone else. He's running away. He won't accept me for who I am. And then he does come back to face her, and she's like, oh, maybe he does think differently from everyone else. But also, like, yeah, if you're faced with a giant kaiju, you're probably going to run away. Like, you know.
Yeah, I definitely would not go up to its face and be like, so you like me, right?
Right? I feel
That's
like you
me.
have something to say to me, kaiju. Yeah.
Steph, did you want to take chapter 10?
Okay, so Manatsu flies out of this helicopter and gets Harugan's attention. And so she finds Minami, and he's freaking out because he can't find Akaishi. And she's like, oh, no, it's fine. She's Harugan's priestess.
Right.
Don't worry. I know this for a fact.
I have zero evidence, but I'm 100% positive.
but I absolutely know it'll be okay because she's totally the priestess. And so they steal a helicopter?
Well, it's her helicopter.
Okay, that's true. That's fair. But it does seem a little far-fetched that they're like, okay, let's hop in this helicopter. So Manatsu and Minami get in the helicopter to get Harugan's attention. So then they get thrown from the helicopter, and Manatsu has a parachute, and she's like, oh shit, I forgot to give a parachute to Minami. Oopsie.
That was pretty wild.
We are plummeting, and I forgot to give him a parachute. But luckily, Harugan sees Minami falling and catches him. And there's this amazing artwork of Harugan just holding him in the palm of her hand, and he's all itty-bitty, and she's just looking down on him tenderly. And he kind of, like, notices this tender look from this monster, and he's like, oh, your eyes are actually pretty gentle, like Akaishi's. Wink. Oh my gosh,
smooth player.
Oh my gosh, maybe we're putting some pieces together. And the heart in Harugan's tail is very definitely a sweet, big, probably pink heart, unlike the dark heart from earlier. And she's very, very happy that he isn't like everyone else. He didn't run away and is not showing fear. And she maybe squishes him a little too hard in her happiness.
She almost Akira's him, but not quite.
She holds on a little too tight. So then she transforms back to a girl. Luckily, there was a parachute, so she's able to wrap herself in it because she didn't transform back with clothes.
Right.
And he finds her in the woods all alone, happy to see that she's not dead, Harugan didn't stomp her flat. And so then she confesses to him. It's this really sweet moment that she doesn't like herself. She's not cute. She's gloomy. She's bitter. But since spending time with him, she's come to like herself a little.
Yeah.
And it's really sweet. And she's saying how she tries to find courage to do things and works hard at things because of him. And it's a really sweet line. When I'm with you, every day feels like a treasure hunt.
Oh.
Oh. Oh my god. This is so sweet.
Sherry Bobbins, when we're with you, every day is Guy Fawkes Day.
What?
Yeah, never mind. It's a Simpsons thing. I was referencing that same fake Disney things episode.
Thing that I have not seen.
If you have not seen the Sherry Bobbins episode, you should watch it. It's really funny.
I might have to look that up. And so then Minami's like, tells her that he felt like Harugan was encouraging him, and he says, I like you. Will you go out with me?
Oh.
And of course she says
so
yes.
Cute.
Yep.
So stinking adorable.
And that's the end of this volume, except for a little bonus story at the end, which was also, I thought, pretty funny, where she gets to go to see the personal like theater inside of her rich friend's house, and she just has footage of Harugan on repeat because apparently kaiju it just kind of gets her motor going, I think, is the problem here. Like, I'm trying to say this in ways that isn't too creepy, but there's definitely some panels where she's just like getting a little too into the fact that Harugan is like about to kill them. And it's like, it's funny, but at the same time, it's a little like, ooh, like this is borderline too creepy, but not, it never crossed the line for me anyway. It stayed funny.
The line.
And I think that's an important thing to stress about this book is that sometimes comics will go a little too far with that stuff. And in this, they kind of had the foresight to just kind of rein it in just enough where it stays funny and doesn't get into creepy territory. So that's the end. So let's give our final thoughts. Steph, you suggested the book. Do you want to take first on this, or
sure,
you can pass the buck if you want to make me or Karen go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
I absolutely love this. The whole reason I picked up this manga was I was at Barnes & Noble and I was looking for a different manga, found it, went to the cashier to check out, and she's like, you know, mangas like buy one get one half off, right?
Ooh.
I was like, excuse me, I will be back. And so I left and I was like, well, shit, something's gonna be half off. I need to find something. And I saw this cover with this kaiju on it, and it was all pink and purple, and I was like, hell yeah, I don't know what that is, but I need it. So just totally dove into it. But I absolutely love it. I think the story is so cute, so relatable. And I love, like, it's got these great little themes to it. Like the fact that she's not gaining confidence because this boy likes her. Like, it's not like ooh, he likes me, I must be pretty because he likes me. It's more, he likes me, I think I should start to like me too.
Yeah.
It's more about her finding her confidence and herself and her beauty than him just, you know, reflecting his emotions on her. Which I think is really refreshing to read.
Yeah, for sure.
It's nice that it's not, you know, this female character is just like, oh, totally affected by this boy. It's like, okay, he is doing positive things in her life, but it's about her journey. So.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that statement. I think in other in a different writer's hands, this would have been a very different and not very enjoyable book. Like,
oh, absolutely.
And I think the line between this version, which I really like, and I find it's an easy recommend because of stuff like not crossing certain lines that we've talked about.
For sure, yeah.
I could easily see this book with a different writer crossing those lines and thinking it's hilarious to do so and making it a very uncomfortable book and not enjoyable in the least.
Yeah. Well, plus there's so many ways this like takes sort of typical things from the genre and is like, we're going to turn this on its head. Like when they first introduced Minatsu, I was like, oh shit, here's the love triangle. Like, she's going to be the love rival and they're going to disagree. And instead she becomes this friend and she's not a love rival at all.
Yes, that's
and
a
it's
big
like,
one.
This is really nice. Like all the female characters who come into her life end up just uplifting her. Which again is very refreshing to see in a story.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that the mean girls in her class. They kind of show up at the start and they're like a bit mean to her, and they kind of disappear from the story.
Yeah.
Because like
they were only there for the climax of like to lead up to that climax of volume 1, and now that that's done, they're like, yeah, these characters don't matter anymore.
And it's kind of nice that most of the like, I guess most of the like conflict is like within herself, rather than like it's like I need to hide this from you, rather than people are trying to find this out about me and I have to like, you know, try and avoid them and hide it. It's like, no, I want to do this for myself and I want to hide it away from you because I don't want to hurt you, rather than being the other way around. Like as you said, Jonah, I think like with another writer, it could definitely be worse, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Easily,
that could have been taken a different way. I love how like the bullies are never named.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that.
And they're most of the time they're only in the background, and if they're somewhat close up, they're doing these weird faces. Like they're always like making weird sneers or anything. Like they're never drawn as super pretty.
I wonder if that's supposed to show us like her perception of them.
It could be. I think part of it, for my interpretation of it, was the artist telling us these people are not important. They're here for a little bit of a purpose, but these are not the important ones. And the ones who are important are like Minatsu. And Volume 3, there's another character, obviously, who comes in and is also very important. But it's almost like the bullies are just background characters. And it's like, they don't matter. We can ignore them because what matters is Akaishi and her journey.
Yeah. And Volume 3, I mean, if we want to touch on it briefly, like it was also good. It was a different direction than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But she meets a character who is very into makeup and is also super popular, and finds out underneath the makeup she's what people would consider ugly. But they, again, in that volume, turn it around in a way that I don't think another writer would have. Like it's spun into a much more positive way. And she learns like, you know, this is something you do for yourself first. And that was like the lessons in the book so far have been very good. And I think are like a lot of teens would probably benefit from reading these kinds of stories rather than a lot of the garbage that's out there. And I kind of hope this has an uptick in popularity as it goes so that more people are reading it, because I think it does a really good job of handling some of these relatable things we've been talking about in ways that most comics and even books, I think, kind of fail to address.
Yeah. The cool thing with the makeup in the third book is it's not like, oh, this will make you beautiful. It's this can give you confidence.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like it's more about this will help you feel beautiful on the inside versus, you know, trying to meet society standards or whatever.
Right.
So, again, I felt like it was handled very well and tells a good story.
Okay, well, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. So, Steph, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Starlit Firefly. You can also find me on the podcast Welcome to St. Paxton, which is at St. Paxton Podcast on Twitter, which is an actual play Pulp Cthulhu horror, mystery, drama.
Lots of twists and turns.
Yeah.
Yes. Many a twist and many a turn.
I have to say, Veronica, who is a friend of all of us and has been on the show before, her storytelling is kind of next level, I would have to say.
Yeah.
And by kind of, I mean very.
Very, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to be on that show. So
excellent. Kieran, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Mr.K_Bennett, or you can check out my D&D podcast, which is for Crits and Giggles. That is at for CNG Podcast. Jonah, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, I'm on Twitter at A Real Jonah, and I'm also on Twitch as Inks and Issues because I set up the channel for this. So twitch.tv/Inks and Issues, where we stream the show, and also occasionally I will stream games. I streamed some Spelunky the other day with my children playing multiplayer, and that was a blast because that game is already chaos, and once you add in multiplayer, it is just pure insanity. It's very good. If you guys have not played Spelunky 1 or 2, they're excellent. And with that, we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. I love you.
Need more mutants, metahumans, or monsters in your life? Then check out these other Geekly Inc. shows, including Cthulhu and Friends, Dear Internet, Greetings Adventures, Transformation Sequence, and many more fantastic podcasts. You can help us make the show the best it can be by supporting us over at patreon.com/inksandissues, where you can get bonus content, early access to episodes, and can even vote on comics for us to review. Don't forget to also leave us a 5-star rating and review to help us spread the word. Want to interact with us on Twitter? You can find us at Inks and Issues or on Twitch at twitch.tv/inksandissues. Now do yourself a favor and go read some gosh darn comics.